And this is something else you really don't see very often as well. Southern Ontario under a blizzard warning stretching from the Bruce Peninsula down towards Kitchener-Waterloo. Does include Barrie and Orillia. We've got snow squall warnings to the east through Muskoka and the Kawarthas, and also through the Niagara region. Snow squall watches for Prince Edward County, where conditions may worsen, but certainly they are going to be adverse and life-threatening if you are caught out for a prolonged period of time, if you become stranded in your vehicle, because temperatures are so extreme and wind chills as well. That's why Environment Canada has made the decision to issue a blizzard warning for this area, as opposed to a snow squall warning. Again, life-threatening wind chills and temperatures as we get into some very bitter air tonight. Okay, let's take a look. Safest place to be, of course, indoors. And if you need to travel, make sure that you've got your full emergency kit and plenty of warm blankets and so on in the car. But if you get stuck in a snowdrift, you may be waiting for a rather long time in very extreme weather. So that's why, again, that blizzard warning's in place. I want to show you where the whiteout conditions are right now. There are increasingly organized bands of snow coming right along Highway 26, affecting the northwest side of Barrie, also Midland Penetang. It's going to worsen there. Goderich and north up towards Port Elgin and the Saugeen shores, and 30 to 60 centimeters of snow possible east of Georgian Bay. Lake Huron in particular, seeing some heavier snow bands, and with the longer fetch all the way up Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, parts of the U.S. are likely to get those extreme amounts of snow. Wind chill warnings in effect, with temperatures continuing to slide down into the minus 20s. The wind is going to make it feel more like minus 30 to minus 40. So that's a serious range of wind chills. As long as you're dressed accordingly and you limit your outdoor time, no problems. But if skin is exposed, it can start to freeze in a matter of 5 minutes or 10 minutes when we get into that range. So again, you're just watching for signs of frostbite or frost nip, which is generally a white waxy patch. And if you're a skier, you've seen that sometimes on your cheeks and nose. So just something to watch out for. You don't rub that skin if you get that issue. You cover it up with a warm mitt, or you just head inside. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Wind chills tonight. This is the stuff that Canadians brag about, right? How extreme our winters are. Potentially dangerous, but not if you know what to do. Cold air tonight, minus 20s, minus 30s. Tomorrow morning as well. It is going to be a tough return to work and school again. No question about that. There will be whiteout conditions continuing, I would say, all day long in parts of the snow belt east of Lake Huron, east of Georgian Bay, and east of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Winds will be west to southwest, so those snow squalls will oscillate somewhat. The big low heads east. Temperatures dropping after rain in the Maritimes today, and that's a blizzard and a really powerful one for Iqaluit for Tuesday. We've got frigid air coming our way. A lot of people talking about the Arctic vortex or the polar vortex. That's cold Arctic air that spills down and is going to bring us maybe some record-setting daytime highs, not just for Toronto, but for many parts of southern Ontario. There's Tuesday. Wednesday, still cold, wind chills, feeling 10 degrees warmer. You'll notice that. And then warmer as we go back towards seasonal and even a bit above zero. Kind of a sloppy mess coming up for the weekend. So many warnings from coast to coast. There's the grocery list of them, and we'll be back as Storm Watch continues with your local forecast just ahead. Downtown Toronto, uptown, West End. By the way, the West End right now, Chrissy Van's checking out Travelers Network. The roads for us, beat the traffic, of course, coming up in just a second. And the 401 on the west side of the city, rather, in particularly rough shape. Apparently, the speed is about 10 kilometers an hour right now, and we'll tell you more about that. Icy road conditions, the latest look at your commute in just a second. Blizzard warning. I got to say, in my 10-plus years here at the Weather Network, it is a rare thing to see a blizzard warning for southern Ontario. We get blizzard-like conditions, but with the temperatures being so cold, the visibility so low for a prolonged period of time, and strong winds, Environment Canada has taken the step to actually issue a blizzard warning. It is a real strong wake-up call that, yeah, this is serious, potentially life-threatening weather that is coming tonight. We'll talk more about this with a look at the radar in a second. Snow squall warnings in other areas east of Parry Sound and Lake Ontario. And yeah, an impressive amount of warnings, almost from coast to coast. BC is the only one not included. Iqaluit has a blizzard warning for tomorrow because of the same storm system, and it's got a lot of mild air with it. It's raining right now in the Maritimes. The freeze is happening in eastern Ontario and southern Quebec. And of course, we all know it's much colder now going home than it was going out this morning. It took me 2 hours to clear the snow and ice from my driveway and pathways. 2 hours. And now this is snow on top of the ice. And whiteout conditions already along sections of Highway 26 and sections of 21 east of Lake Huron. The winds are going to be predominantly west in the coming almost 48 hours, actually, through the night tonight, through tomorrow night. Substantial improvements Wednesday. The snow squalls will oscillate a little bit up and down along with the wind direction, but the heaviest amounts of snow, the steadiest whiteout conditions are expected to be both in New York State and here at home, east of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron in particular. Significant accumulations. Remember, blizzard warnings are in that area, meaning that it is a life-threatening situation should you be stranded outdoors, should you be stranded or stuck in your car. So think really carefully before you head out. And if you have to head out, essential travel in some of those more less inhabited areas. I was going to say a desolate area. You know what I mean? A country road, a desolate stretch of road. Make sure that you are self-sufficient. Make sure you've got your emergency kit in your car, among other things, and a fully charged cell. There's your wind chill warning, minus 30s to minus 40s, how it'll feel tonight. Yeah, as cold as minus 40 tonight. Current temperatures, and they've been dropping. It was above zero, just above zero, around and just after midnight, but the temperatures have been tumbling, and they'll go down to the minus 20s again tonight, like last week, but with more extreme wind chills. Minus 39 wind chill forecast for Hamilton, and it's going to be a very cold night ahead, not just here at home, but stateside as well. In the upper Midwest, so the upper Great Lakes states, they haven't had this kind of cold for 20 years. So a very big deal for millions of Americans as well as millions of Canadians. There's a forecast for Tuesday morning. Wind chill values, minus 21 in Atlanta. And hurricane force winds for Iqaluit tomorrow as this low, same storm system, continues to intensify. Whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions, likely school closures tomorrow, certainly, and road closures possible, and travel disruption in southern Ontario. Minus 16 Toronto, feeling like minus 28. A warmer wind chill, if you will, and then warmer temperatures more noticeable as we go towards the weekend. But a lot of cold Arctic air for all of us, which are continuing to intensify, and it's about to become an Arctic storm as we get into some Arctic air. Am I really seeing high heels tiptoeing through the slush? Am I really seeing that? Somebody didn't watch the Weather Network this morning. This is full-on, full boot weather. Let's check in with the footwear around Wilfrid Laurier. Getting stuck in a snowbank is one thing. Getting stuck during a blizzard, and that's what we've got shaping up for the Great Lakes. That's a very dangerous matter. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. 4:14. And there are the temperatures right now. It is minus 4 to about minus 11 in southern Ontario. Halifax is holding at 5. Yarmouth hit 10 today. Raining in the Maritimes. Cold Arctic air is pouring down into Ontario. Regina is sitting at minus 30. And that's how it's going to feel tonight. It'll feel closer to minus 40 for some of us. That's why there's a wind chill warning in place. And this evening, our wind chills will be in the close to minus 30 range, minus 22 down to about minus 30. Overnight, even colder, and with the wind making it feel dangerously cold. Afternoon highs, and again, they're in the teens with the wind chills feeling close to minus 30. It's because of the extreme temperatures and the strong winds bringing those extreme wind chills that Environment Canada has taken the rather infrequent step of not issuing snow squall warnings for many areas, but issuing a blizzard warning, meaning that it is potentially life-threatening if you are caught outside for a prolonged period, if you get stuck or stranded in your vehicle. So you know what to do. Play it safe. Avoid non-essential travel. Be prepared for complete whiteout conditions if you do head out in any of these areas. And lesser concern, Prince Edward County, but Niagara region going to get some strong southwesterlies at times, Chrissy, and that means with this radar, and I'll break it down in more detail. Thanks very much, Chrissy. And as far as roads are concerned, who's in the worst shape right now? Midland Penetang deteriorating conditions. Very broad squall extending from Lake Huron all the way down towards Lake Ontario near Cobourg, Port Hope. Now that's pretty impressive. Westerly winds shifting a little more of a southwest flow across Lake Erie. That's the kind of setup when Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York, Fort Erie, Ontario, Port Cobourg get some prolonged and significant amounts of snow. So 30 centimeters, 60 plus, not unusual and not unexpected around Lake Huron. So that'll continue tomorrow night. Temperatures will ease somewhat Wednesday. Warnings that are blanketing the country, literally. And yeah, there's a blizzard warning Environment Canada has issued for areas east of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. And that suggests a prolonged period, very poor visibility, extreme wind chills, and if you get caught, if you get stranded, for example, if you're out on the roads, this can be life-threatening. It would be life-threatening because of the dangerous wind chills. So that's a heads up about how serious the road conditions are and complete whiteouts. There are some local road closures already, we understand, in that region. And we've got warnings almost from coast to coast today, every province except for British Columbia. Now, they've got some active weather coming. Iqaluit has this blizzard coming north, and wind chill and blizzard and freezing rain warnings, all of this, eastern Canada, because of the one storm system. Snow squalls right now, whiteout conditions around Midland and Penetang, Collingwood getting some snow. Most of the action is west of Barrie and Alliston. Whiteouts along sections of Highway 21. Snow picking up off the northeast shore of Lake Erie. Winds are west to southwest, so those squalls are oscillating a little bit. We've got some heavy snow to the east of the GTA that has moved east through Cobourg, and that squall from Lake Huron extends all the way through the Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes area. How much snow? Well, 60 plus centimeters certainly likely east of Lake Huron because of these powerful winds and some steady squalls that are going to continue with us tonight and tomorrow into tomorrow night. So there will be some bus cancellations. There will be road closures. I already mentioned that. And I think there will be some school cancellations that you'll be finding out more and more about, along with general travel disruption for the next 36 hours. Wind chill warnings blanket the southern half of Ontario. It already feels like the minus teens, and our temperatures continue to drop. Overnight, the wind chills will approach minus 40. Yeah, minus 39 is the forecast wind chill for Hamilton. It's not often that we get that. City of Toronto, minus 34 is how it will feel. And many in this part of the country just not really used to this kind of cold. I know it's exceptional. Reach for extra layers. We get temperatures like this more commonly in, say, Manitoba or Alberta, and prairie folk, prairie Canadians, people that live there, are used to putting on one layer of long johns, 2 layers of long johns, 2 sets of gloves, gloves and then mitts on top. So let's take a page from their book, and, it won't be with us for long. Embrace it, endure it, and we'll get through it. Tuesday is going to be a very cold day. Wind chill values tomorrow morning, minus 21, how it'll feel in Atlanta. Minus 30s for southern Ontario, minus 41 for Winnipeg. So we're all kind of in this together. Temperatures are going to warm up rather significantly on the weekend, but for now we've got that Arctic air mass with us. We talk, if you're a regular viewer, we talk about the Hudson Bay vortex or the Hudson Bay low, Arctic vortex. We talk about these kinds of terms at this time of year when we get cold Arctic air that spills down towards southern Ontario. And the Hudson Bay low, an area of low pressure around Hudson Bay in the upper atmosphere, can help steer some of that our way. Minus 16 tomorrow, minus 10 on Wednesday, minus 5 Thursday, and we warm up to 0 and above as we go towards the weekend. But there's a lot of Arctic air here at home stemming from the north and heading towards Florida. Conditions across southern Ontario, icy roads, poor travel conditions. You saw that there. Chrissy's coming up with your Beat the Traffic commute report in just a second. The wind gusts are 90 kilometers an hour right now off the northeast shore of Lake Erie around Port Cobourg, and this is just the beginning. Tonight, tomorrow night, whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions, and our temperatures are going to get far colder. Minus 8 in the city of Toronto right now. We got above 8 degrees today in parts of Nova Scotia. Halifax still sitting at 7. It's raining. It's one big storm system allowing all this extreme cold Arctic air to pour into Ontario. Wind chill warnings for tonight because we'll be dropping not just into the minus teens, but air temperature into the minus 20s overnight, and wind chills will be approaching minus 40. Exposed skin can freeze in as little as 5 minutes. 5-10 minutes, it can start to freeze, and very dangerous conditions if you are caught outside. If you're stranded in your car, for example, Environment Canada, with that in mind, that severe threat has issued not just snow squall warnings, but blizzard warnings as well. Niagara's under a snow squall warning and snow squall watches further east. And as you can see on the radar here, snow starting to fill in, starting to intensify. Northwest to westerly flow to the northwest to southwest flow across the south. If you're heading through the Niagara region this evening, Chrissy, there will be some pockets of whiteout conditions. Our colleague here, as well as some others, Toronto motorists, yeah, you don't want to be stranded anywhere. If you're going to be stranded, being stranded in an inhabited area is fantastic, but this is a big part of why Environment Canada has issued not just a snow squall warning, but actually a blizzard warning for Huron and Perth counties, for Barrie, for Orillia, for Bracebridge. If you find yourself stranded, it is a potentially life-threatening situation. It is a dangerous situation because we have such extreme cold, such low visibility, and you could potentially be stranded for many hours. So you really need to think very carefully before you head out in these areas for tonight, for tomorrow night. The squalls may let up here and there, so that would be the time to nip out and do whatever you need to do. We're getting word of more travel delays and cancellations at Pearson Airport. Check ahead before you go. There will be more school cancellations and disruptions as well. So it's not much of a back to work and school day today. And it's not just here in the GTA. It is stateside, and it's also affecting all of Eastern Canada one way or another, whether it's flash freeze following a rainfall or whether it's snowfall and blizzard and wind chill warnings, which are the back end of this system. Look at that. Warnings in every province except for British Columbia. And the wind chills in the prairies are as a direct result of this low, drawing cold Arctic air down. And we're getting it now, certainly. We were just above zero in Toronto last night. Last I looked at Markham-Buttonville Airport, which is just a few minutes ago, visibility 400 meters. I don't see a lot of snow at the north end of the GTA, but we are getting some, and up towards Newmarket and Sharon and through the Holland Marsh, heavy snow tonight as these squalls oscillate around. West to southwesterly winds, and that's where the squalls are right now, and it's 4:45 local time. They are affecting Port Colborne, Port Dover area. Looks like they're north of Niagara Falls, heading up towards Niagara-on-the-Lake. Goderich north towards Kincardine, whiteout conditions. Midland, Collingwood, Stayner, Creemore. It looks like you're right on the edge there. And down towards Seaforth, getting some heavier snow as well. Some will see 30 centimeters out of this. Others could see 2 feet or 60 or more centimeters of snow. And again, the longer the fetch, the bigger the snow. So we will get some very strong squalls, whiteouts for parts of New York State. Current winds. Now, this is a big story for us. It's starting to build. Gusts are around 90 kilometers an hour around the northeast shore of Lake Erie, around Fort Erie right now. 71 kilometers an hour downtown. Gusts in Toronto. 60 around Kitchener-Waterloo. Wind chills for tonight. Temperatures right now are in the -8, -10 range for many. -15 Kitchener-Waterloo, so the colder air settling in. Windsor, Ontario, one of a number of communities that may, tonight, set an all-time new temperature and new wind chill record. So that's being closely watched for the next 24 hours there. Wind chills tonight approaching -40, and at the -40 mark, that's when exposed skin can freeze in as little as 5 minutes. So watching for signs of frostbite. If you're spending time outdoors, by all means, go out and walk the dog. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. White, waxy skin is what you're looking for, and often the cheeks are sometimes the most prone areas. I don't think they'll get frostbite in Atlanta at a -21 wind chill, but you know that this is the top story in terms of what most people are talking about today. Here's a look at our long-range trend. We are warming up significantly towards the weekend, but for now, this is what gives us Canadians bragging rights. This is extreme cold. Just be ready for it tonight. If you're not getting snow where you are, just be thankful about that, because in some areas, icy roads, snow-covered, on top, and then whiteout conditions on top of that. And we've had some whiteouts down at the Island Airport reported in the last little while, so that means bursts of heavy snow in downtown Toronto, Markham in the north end of the city and the 407 stretch. Visibility has been slowly dropping. I'll show you the radar in just a second. Current temperatures, and it's going to get much colder still. Remember last week when we dropped to the minus 23 mark in the morning hours? Well, we're going to get there again. Wind gusts have picked up to 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour. Area gusts in orange, and the winds are helping to drive in whiteout conditions. And behind it, there's a whole lot more cold Arctic air where that came from. Current temperatures finally out of the minus 30s in Regina right now. And it's pressing into Quebec and on into the Maritimes, too, where they're about to get a very nasty flash freeze as well. It's been pouring rain for most of this afternoon. Halifax is 7 degrees above zero, and we are going down for temperatures. Wind chill warnings for tonight in the minus 30 range and close to minus 40, how it will feel. Temperatures in white here, so minus teens. That's very cold. That's colder than normal for this time of year. Then when you factor in the wind, and then when you take it down to the overnight temperatures, and that's basically how it's going to feel when you're heading out tomorrow morning. So, heading out to school, heading out to work. If you're heading out to an area that's a little more sparsely populated, make sure that you are prepared in terms of what you're wearing and what you have in the car, too, should you happen to break down. It's with temperatures and conditions like these that the calls to CAA go way up, the calls to the police go way up, and avoiding non-essential travel is really the safest route to go. And it's with safety in mind, with these kinds of conditions, that Environment Canada has issued not just a snow squall warning and a watch for some areas, a warning for Niagara, a warning for Newmarket, but actually a blizzard warning. So prolonged extreme conditions and very dangerous, life-threatening, if you will, if you become stranded or stuck during these conditions. There are whiteouts, and Chrissy, there's a little bit of that snow, the burst that's been going through the GTA. Well, if you're just joining us for the first time, great to see you. Happy New Year. January the 6th. I know it was supposed to be a return to the normal routine today, but the weather is anything but normal. Wide overview here of this storm system. There's a blizzard warning in effect for Iqaluit tomorrow. There's cold Arctic air all the way down towards Florida. Last I looked, it was +2 in New Orleans. Really exceptionally cold air flowing through the south. Raining green. It's been a wet, soggy day in the Maritimes. Mild temperatures. The cold Arctic air is settling in, though, for us already and spreading east. So eastern Canada and so much of the United States, millions of Canadians and Americans getting affected by this really powerful storm system. And as I mentioned, it's heading north up towards Baffin Island. Around the Georgian Bay Islands, some very serious whiteout conditions now taking shape around Midland and Penetang, extending east through Lake Simcoe, north side of Barrie, whiteouts, and then you're out of it as you head down towards Newmarket Sharon. We've had some pockets of heavy snow around the city of Toronto, and certainly whiteouts on Highway 21. Environment Canada has actually issued a blizzard warning for this area, just underscoring how serious the weather is. It's not often that we see our temperatures drop into the minus 20s. They'll not only be there, but we've got wind chills close to minus 40 in the forecast. So if you were to get stuck, it would be a life-threatening situation if you were stranded for a period of time with no heat in your car. So that's the thinking there, plus the fact that these are going to be really prolonged with intensifying winds. They've already been gusting 70 to 90 kilometers an hour around the lower Great Lakes. We're certainly not alone. There are warnings that stretch almost from coast to coast. BC has no warnings today, but if you look, wind chill, blizzard, snowfall, blowing snow, freezing rain, and then they've got the flash freeze coming tonight for the Maritimes. We've already got it today. So getting yourself ready and getting your car ready and getting your family ready. Kasia Badurka's out in the field catching up with you.
Now with more on your weather story, back to you inside.
You know, a hug from Ambika and the windshield wipers. Mom's got to be pretty happy tonight. Good to check up with some of the essentials, and a reminder to you, if you're heading out, I mean, Canadians do These are not unusual temperatures for Edmonton or for Winnipeg, but they are unusual. They are a little bit exceptional for Toronto. We don't normally get down to the minus 23 range in Hamilton, minus 19 for St. Catharines, minus 20 Newmarket, Barrie. This is exceptionally cold. It can happen sometimes once or twice a winter. We did have a cold blast last week. By my reckoning, that means a January thaw can't be too far away. We'll talk about the long-range temperatures in a moment. 60 centimeters of snow, that's 2 feet. And it could be more than that in some areas east of the lakes. The longer the fetch, the bigger the snow is likely to be south of the border. But let's not downplay this. Huron and Perth counties, pretty exceptional stuff. Squalls continue, whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions tonight, tomorrow night. The winds will oscillate a little bit west-southwest, so you'll get little pockets where you or your friends and family in that area could head out. Squalls easing Wednesday, but it will remain frigid, minus 10, feeling closer to minus 20. There's our warm-up. We're actually going to get above zero, if you can believe it, by the weekend. But tomorrow, minus 16, minus 28 wind chill, Lake and the Georgian Bay shoreline. And we've got some pockets of whiteout conditions off the northeast shore of Lake Erie as well, where the wind gusts are now up to about 90 kilometers an hour. Good to see you. It is Monday. It was supposed to be a nice return to the regular routine, wasn't it? Back to work and school. But instead, we've got quite exceptional weather in southern Ontario. Temperatures are in the minus 8 to minus 15 range right now in the south, and they're going to get substantially colder tonight. Wind gusts in orange here, 70 kilometer an hour gusts in the city of Toronto. Some pockets of whiteout conditions, both downtown and on the islands at times up on the 407 as well, and some really serious problems on the 401 west side of the GTA. And Chrissy will be along from Beat the Traffic in just a moment. A lot of cold Arctic air pouring south across the prairies, across Hudson Bay, down through the Great Lakes, all the way down towards the Gulf Coast. I was looking at New Orleans this afternoon, plus 2 degrees. And temperatures are going to get colder still down into North Florida. Let's take a look at eastern Canada. Current temperatures, let's pop them up now. New Orleans, 2 degrees. Fort Lauderdale's 26. And that cold air is just on the doorstep for northern Florida. That's really where the temperature gradient becomes much more obvious, doesn't it? 26 hanging on in Fort Lauderdale. Bring it back to home, though. Temperatures dropping through the overnight, and wind chills will be approaching minus 40. And at that range, that's when exposed skin can freeze in as little as 5 minutes. And you've heard me probably say that before, but often when I'm talking about the prairie provinces or more northern locations, northern Ontario. So this is quite exceptional. It's infrequent for southern Ontario, not unheard of, but it's infrequent that we get temperatures down into the minus 20s. I know it happened last week, but we're getting a deeper flash or push of cold Arctic air, and temperatures tomorrow will linger between minus 16 and about minus 20 for most. And again, those wind chill warnings for the area, because it will feel close to minus 30 during the day. Blizzard warnings, Environment Canada has issued those, as well as snow squall warnings, whiteout conditions, and the blizzard warning issued because exposed skin can freeze very quickly. We talked about that. If you were to get stranded or stuck in your vehicle, it would be a life-threatening situation potentially. So with these whiteout conditions deepening around Georgian Bay, Highway 26, west of Barrie, Collingwood, and around Lake Huron, that's why that blizzard warning is in place. Worse conditions tonight and tomorrow, Chrissy, but the roads right now, what's the latest? Storm watch here at the Weather Network as a bitter cold brand of Arctic air blasts into Ontario, into New York State, down through Kentucky, all the way through Texas and on into Florida. Okay, it's not actually minus 16 in the Sunshine State, where we get plenty of oranges, but it certainly is in Orangeville, and I dare say it feels twice as cold as that. Feels like the minus 30s already. With these winds picking up, gusts 64 kilometers an hour in Orangeville, Toronto gusts to 80, sustained winds at 50. It is a cold night, and exposed skin can freeze in literally minutes if you're outside for any prolonged period of time. Once we get to those wind chills, minus 30 and below, 5 to 10 minutes possible. Minus 26 in Regina right now, minus 26 in Winnipeg. We do have a wind chill warning. And you know what? I'm just going to clarify something for you, because we've got a lot of different numbers. And it's really important not to oversell, but also not to undersell the risk of frostbite. When the wind chills approach minus 40, that's when exposed skin can freeze in as little as 5 minutes. When they're in that minus 30s range, 10 plus minutes generally, but the bottom line, these are some dangerous wind chills that are moving in this evening, and whiteout conditions with blizzard warnings elsewhere in the snow belt. I'll get to that in just a second. Want to show you what's happening overnight tonight as we get towards the minus 40 range, and some have been out this evening. Checking in with Kasia Badurka now on getting prepared. Travel delays, latest road conditions coming up in just a moment with Chrissy. Travel disruption and closures as well with blizzard and snow squall warnings. And Environment Canada has upgraded this area, Huron and Perth County, including Barrie and Orillia, Collingwood, and south through Goderich. Blizzard warnings because it will be a prolonged period with extreme cold and wind chills. And that means that anyone who were to get stuck or stranded would be in a dangerous, potentially life-threatening situation with this kind of cold. You certainly don't want to be stuck out there for half an hour, let alone several hours waiting for help or waiting for a tow. And these squalls are going to oscillate a little bit, but these are whiteout conditions now, crossing Highway 10 and 6 up towards 26, mainly north of Barrie, but that's going to be moving back into Barrie and likely down through the Holland Marsh, Alliston, and Newmarket at times this evening. Looking ahead, squalls will be with us for tomorrow, but Chrissy, we've got these pretty serious warnings in place with these wind chills approaching the minus 30s tomorrow, and this will be with us as well.
Yes, it's just going to complicate things even further, and we're already seeing quite a treacherous drive out there.
Once again to southern Ontario, it was last week where temperatures dropped into the minus 20s. I don't know about the choice of high heels for today. Someone didn't pay attention to the Weather Network before getting dressed for work. Best to put on some really thick gloves, a good hat, and some great boots if you're heading out tonight. And don't venture too far from home, certainly not down any country roads if you can avoid it, because there are some blizzard warnings in effect in the snowbelt regions. And at times, these squalls are going to be far-reaching, along with the cold Arctic air. Some of our latest tweets, either from or to viewers. All kinds of updates for you on social media as well as here on TV. And of course, we are live streaming to your mobile and to your desktop so you can watch us wherever you are today. Some really extreme weather for millions of Canadians and south of the border as well. Temperatures are currently as cold as about minus 16, minus 18 degrees. We've got wind gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour. I was just looking at Port Colborne. The gusts are closer to 100 right now. A big open fetch. Lots of open water out on Lake Erie. So when the winds line up with the orientation of the lake, we get stronger squalls, and we often get stronger wind gusts as well. So that's what's happening there. Cold Arctic air across much of our country. The winds are picking up in the Maritimes, and the temperatures haven't really dropped yet. They got up to about 10 degrees today on the South Shore. 6 in Halifax right now. Minus 26 out in Regina, and it's that cold Arctic air that's coming our way. A wind chill warning's been issued by Environment Canada. Why? Well, temperatures started fairly mild today. We were actually above zero in Toronto just after midnight. And then by 7, 8 a.m., it was down to about minus 3 to minus 5 in many parts of the GTA, and temperatures have kept dropping down to the minus 20s overnight tonight and feeling close to minus 40. Toronto, Hamilton, Barrie, Orillia. No big improvements for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be exceptionally cold. I think there will be some school cancellations as well as school bus cancellations. I know you're keeping on top of that. Delays and cancellations as far as travel is concerned as well. Check before you head out to Pearson or down to Billy Bishop. Wind chills tomorrow afternoon and blizzard warnings will be continuing as well. Snow squall warnings for many parts of the snowbelt, Parry Sound, Muskoka, the Kawarthas, but for Barrie, Orillia, for Collingwood, for Huron, Perth, and Bruce counties, there are blizzard warnings. And the reason for this, it is a life-threatening situation should you get stuck or stranded in weather like this, in cold weather as exceptional as this. Whiteout conditions so you wouldn't be able to see where you were going if you got stuck in a snowbank. Plus, it could take potentially a number of hours for help to get to you. So again, a blizzard warning has been issued for many of these snowbelt regions because of the prolonged nature of the squalls, but particularly because of the extreme cold. Okay, getting ready. Kasia Badurka has been out and about checking in with some Canadian Tire customers on the things that they have been stocking up on. And to prevent frostbite when you're changing your wipers, you might want to consider detouring to somewhere that has underground parking or at least covered parking. Squalls continue tomorrow. They'll ease a little bit on Wednesday, and our temperatures will ease towards the weekend. Stay with us. Clearing off the car properly. A lot of people topping up on not only a full gas tank today, windshield wiper fluid, new windshield wipers, although I wouldn't want to be you fiddling with the wipers on a day like today, on a night like tonight. This is a massive storm system. Temperatures are really plummeting in Ontario to not unprecedented levels, but it's not all that often that cities like Toronto get down into the minus 20s in the winter. We're still above zero with all the rain falling in the Maritimes. They're going to get the strong winds tonight. They've been building, and the storm system's moving into Newfoundland, and then a blizzard goes to Iqaluit tomorrow, and the gusts there could be hurricane force, 120 kilometers an hour. Having said that, we've had wind gusts nearing 100 kilometers an hour in Port Colborne today, down on the northeast shore of Lake Erie. And there's a really good reason for that. You got a lake that stretches from the southwest to the northeast. You got the winds flowing the same way. That's a really long fetch, as it's called, a long stretch of open water. So that wind can pick up momentum, it can pick up moisture, dump a whole lot of snow in places like Buffalo and Fort Erie, and that's the setup. And then there's all of this mess, and there are blizzard warnings stretching from Barrie and Orillia down through southwestern Ontario. These squalls are going to be long-lived, and long-lived during dangerously cold weather. With wind chills near minus 40, anyone that were to get stranded or stuck in a snowbank could be there for a prolonged period, and at that point this weather is life-threatening, no question. So a blizzard warning. Environment Canada has taken it up to that level of concern. Snow squall warning, certainly that should get your attention. This is 30 centimeters or more, and in some cases perhaps 60 centimeters or more, because the squalls today, tonight, tomorrow night, it's not till Wednesday that we see a bit of a reprieve. And this tapestry, this patchwork quilt of warnings will be changing somewhat, but look at what we've got. Wind chills, blizzard, blowing snow, freezing rain, wind, winter storm, rainfall, flash freeze, and snow squall. Mainly the eastern half of the country. In the U.S., there is a long grocery list of warnings as well. Temperature at last check was only +2 in New Orleans, and in the single digits in northern Florida as well. All right. Minus 20. Yeah, you thinking about booking a trip? Maybe you are. Feeling like minus 40. There are our wind chills tonight. There's Hamilton, minus 39 wind chill. Those are the snowfall amounts I was mentioning. And the forecast will see just as nasty weather tomorrow and tomorrow night. The winds will oscillate a little bit west to southwest, so that'll shift the squalls a little bit further north at times. We'll see some improvements in the long-range forecast. We'll even warm up with a bit of a thaw, it looks like, Chrissy, for the upcoming weekend. But for now, some problems. Power outages. A few pockets today in Alliston, in Bancroft, and in Bolton. Can you imagine losing power with temperatures already down in the minus double digits? And Bracebridge has a few power outages, with restoration not expected until tomorrow at 4 p.m. The other areas I mentioned, reconnection is expected this evening. We thank you for joining us. Storm watch, an exceptionally cold day and a very cold night ahead, with wind chills approaching the minus 40 range, and frostbite can occur in as little as 5 minutes with feel-like temperatures like that. These are forecast air temperatures this evening across the country. And then as we zero in on southern Ontario, wind chills forecast overnight lows in the minus 20s. And this is fairly exceptional. Infrequent, maybe the best way of putting it. We do sometimes drop into the minus 20s, even in the city of Toronto and Hamilton, but it is is infrequent. We actually had it happen last week, so twice in a row because of, well, a lot of media outlets have been talking about the polar vortex, and that's a term we sometimes use, but if you can imagine, there's a cap of really cold Arctic air that sits near the North Pole, and sometimes it tilts down towards Siberia, sometimes towards Europe, and sometimes towards North America. And this time, we are getting the coldest air going in the Northern Hemisphere, sweeping down through Ontario, continuing similar temperatures, not much of a warm-up for tomorrow afternoon, and again, exceptional wind chills. I'll get to the blizzard conditions in just a moment, getting you prepared. We're live streaming this broadcast on mobile and also to your desktop, so you can check with us, web, mobile, TV. Just keep yourself up to date, and keep up to date family and friends if you figure that they're not catching the latest information. Really important, because we are into some fairly dangerous weather as far as temperatures, wind chills, and the prolonged nature of this outbreak of winter weather. Tasha, now on being prepared. This morning, snow fell yesterday, freezing rain overnight, a crusty surface this morning, and the roads have become increasingly icy and increasingly solid throughout the day. And again, with temperatures well below normal in the -20s, it's going to be that kind of scenario through tonight and through tomorrow. So traction will become a real challenge. There have been a number of accidents already. There are some road closures, some pockets, I understand, and I think there will be far more widespread closures as we get into the meat of this. This is a blizzard warning as well as a snow squall warning. The squall warning is for Muskoka, for Haliburton, down through the Kawarthas, also for the Niagara region, but Environment Canada has taken the rather unusual step of upgrading it to a blizzard warning for Huron County, Grey Bruce, and also for Barrie Orillia, and with good reason. Should you get stuck, should you get stranded in a snowbank during a whiteout like this, it could take potentially a very long time to get help because conditions are going to be so adverse. When we get squalls like this, sometimes emergency crews are even pulled off the roads. And with wind chills in the -40 range and temperatures well into the -20s, that is potentially life-threatening. So again, blizzard warnings, avoiding all but essential travel. Wind warnings, gusts have been 90+ along the northeast shore of Lake Erie today. When does it end? Squalls tomorrow. They'll continue through Wednesday, but they'll start to ease, and we will see a more significant warm-up, maybe even a thaw as we go above zero for the weekend, but not for now. Lakes and out in Port Cartier, Quebec as well. Blizzard conditions. We've got a long grocery list of warnings. Every province has warnings except for BC. And I think that will get amended tomorrow because BC starts a very active weather pattern tomorrow. Good to see you. It's Monday. It was supposed to be a nice Monday, nice return to work and school, back to the normal routine. I saw a lot of my neighbors out early this morning, including myself. Took 2 hours to shovel out the cars and the driveway and the walkways. Yeah, and it was my job this morning, and it was quite a big one as it turned out. Green for rain. Pink for freezing rain transition, and on into Newfoundland. The storm goes tonight. All the same storm system. We had quite a lot of snow last night. Toronto got 4 to 14 centimeters. Barrie got 30 to 40 centimeters, and that was the storm. What we're left with is the bitter cold, the extreme wind chills, and the blizzard conditions. And Environment Canada has issued snow squall watches for Prince Edward County, where things may get bad, Kingston as well, warnings for Niagara, warnings for the Kawarthas, and for the north end of the GTA, and the squalls have extended that far already. But in Barrie Orillia, Bracebridge, the Bruce Peninsula, Goderich, many parts of Huron and Perth counties, Grey counties, they are going to get and have already seen blizzard conditions. Extreme low visibility and extreme wind chills, a prolonged period of it, and really dangerous conditions, life-threatening conditions potentially, were you to get stuck or stranded. So that's why Environment Canada is really ratcheting it up by making sure there's a blizzard warning in place. 30 to 60 centimeters of snow in the more prolonged areas. These are going to be westerly winds that will oscillate to the southwest, and a southwest wind brings the Snow up to Prince Edward County, up to Niagara Falls like we've seen today. The longer the fetch, the stronger the snow squall and the bigger the amounts, both here at home and stateside. Wind warnings as well for the northeast shore of Lake Erie. Wind chill warnings, Ontario, Quebec, and extending into the Atlantic provinces. And our wind chills tonight will bottom out near -40. This Hamilton. It's not often we get air temperatures in the -20s, let alone wind chills near -40. Similar to last week, but it will feel that much colder because of that wind. And wind chills, we're not alone. It's the prairies, it's the Midwest, coldest in 20 years, and it's the U.S. South as well. There's Atlanta tomorrow. Kasia has been out checking in with you, getting prepared.
Inside.
Multiple layers is the key. Multiple warnings. Look at that. Wind chill blizzard through a flash freeze, a tapestry across Canada today. The warm-up for us comes on the weekend. Down to the -40 range. A look at some of the scenes here at home and south of the border as we continue to keep you up to date with Storm Watch at the Weather Network, affecting millions of Canadians. It was supposed to be a nice day, back to school and work and the regular routine today, but the weather is giving us anything but. It's very extreme. Temperatures this evening anywhere from, well, -12 and going down, -29 in Winnipeg. We'll take a page from their book, shall we? Because the kind of weather that we're getting is an infrequent visitor to the GTA, but it's much more common in places like Winnipeg and Edmonton. And what Edmontonians will do is put on not one but 2 layers of long johns. And if you don't have 2 layers of long johns, don't worry, tights, or if you've got a layer of long johns, sweatpants go on top of that, snow pants can go on top of that. That's if you have to go out. A lot of people just opting to stay in tonight, of course. Multiple layers, whether it's gloves and then mitts on top. Things to think about. We've had a lot of feedback today as well from Kasia Badurka out at a local hardware store, talking about some of the things that are good to be prepared with for your car, whether it's the wipers that are working well and the fluid that's topped up. And they also sell long johns as well. Wind chill warnings blanket Ontario, warnings in Quebec and the Atlantic provinces too. That low is blasting towards the east, leaving us with this. -39 wind chill in Hamilton tonight and very similar wind chills for the rest of southern Ontario. And to compound the wind chills, we've got whiteout conditions and blizzard warnings here at home and south of the border. I'll break that down for you with the snow in just a moment. Here's Mike Arsenault. Yeah, close. Thanks very much, Mike. On the road in southwestern Ontario, team coverage continues. Live streaming of this Weather Network feed to your mobile, to your desktop as well. You can converse with us on social media and, of course, TV, web, mobile, wherever you want your weather, we've got it. -teens to -20s already, London through Windsor. Blizzard warnings, and then we've also got snow squall warnings, including Niagara, including the Kawarthas and Muskoka, but Barrie, Orillia, and areas around the Bruce. Whiteout conditions with dangerous wind chills, dangerous, potentially life-threatening should you get stranded. So Environment Canada's put it up to a blizzard warning. So there's the snow forecast, 30 to 60 centimeters. And here's Kasia now. Blizzards, snow squalls, extremes. They continue, as does our Storm Watch coverage.